There's a lot of myths about prepping that keep people from getting started or give them a false sense of security. Whether you're just starting out or have been at this for years, you've probably heard of some of these before. The problem is, believing these myths could leave you in a bad spot when disaster strikes. In today's video, we're going to break down some of the biggest myths about prepping and set the record straight. Let's get started. A lot of people still think preppers are just paranoid, waiting for the end of the world in underground bunkers. In reality, prepping is just another word for being ready for real-life problems. Job loss, natural disasters, power outages, and supply chain disruptions happen all the time. Being prepared means having food, water, and a plan, just like your grandparents did. There's nothing crazy about taking responsibility for your own safety. Hollywood loves to show preppers with underground bunkers filled with years of food, but that's not realistic for most people. The truth is, prepping starts with making your home more resilient, not running to an underground hideout. A well-stocked pantry, backup power, and security measures at home will do far more for you than an expensive bunker you might never need. Many people assume prepping is only for the wealthy and requires a huge investment, but you can start prepping on almost any budget. Buying extra food when it's on sale, storing tap water in reused containers, and learning essential skills costs little to nothing. Prepping is less about expensive gear and more about smart planning and using resources wisely. People assume FEMA or emergency services will take care of them if things get bad, but history proves that's not always the case. After major disasters, government aid can take days or even weeks to reach everybody. If you're caught unprepared, you could be waiting in long lines for food and water while others who prepped are already taken care of. The government is a last resort, not a survival plan. Some people believe that they don't need food storage because they'll just hunt for deer and forage for edible plants when the time comes. The reality is that everyone else has the same idea. If a crisis hits, wildlife populations will disappear fast, and foraging requires serious knowledge that most people don't have. A stocked pantry is worth far more than an empty stomach and a rifle. There's a common belief that simply owning the right gear is enough to handle any situation, but survival is also about knowledge, not just equipment. Guns, knives, solar generators, and water filters are great, but they mean nothing if you don't know how to use them. Skills like first aid, water purification, and food preservation will always be more valuable than any piece of gear. Some people don't prep because they think they can just steal from others when things get bad. This is one of the dumbest and most dangerous myths out there. First, people will defend what they have, and most preppers own firearms. Second, looting is not a sustainable plan. Eventually, supplies run out. And third, no one is going to want to trade or work with someone who's known for stealing. If your only plan is to take from others, you don't have a plan, you have a death wish. A lot of preppers assume that cash will become worthless overnight and bartering will take over immediately. While bartering can be useful, history shows that even in major economic collapses, people still use money as long as possible. If anything, alternative currencies like silver, gold, or even certain goods hold value longer than a straight barter system. Don't expect to pay for everything with ammo and canned beans on day one. The idea that you have to live in a remote cabin in the woods to be a prepper is simply false. You can be prepared no matter where you live. Urban preppers stockpile food and water, secure their home, and plan escape routes. Suburban preppers garden, store supplies, and build local networks. While off-grid living has its benefits, you don't have to be in the middle of nowhere to be ready. A lot of people think prepping is just about preparing for the apocalypse, but that's not what most preppers are doing. The reality is, short-term disruptions are far more common than total collapse. Economic downturns, power grid failures, cyber attacks, and social unrest happen far more often than a complete breakdown of society. Most preppers focus on real-world problems, not the end of the world. A common misconception is that unless you have years worth of supplies, you're not truly prepared. The truth is, most emergencies last days or weeks, not years. A solid 3-week supply of food, water, and essentials will get you through most situations. Once you have that, you should expand your supplies based on your risk level, but you don't need a warehouse full of food to be considered prepared. A lot of people love the lone wolf fantasy, but the reality is people survive better in groups. Whether it's family, trusted friends, or a local community, having people you can rely on makes a huge difference. No one can master every skill, and security, food production, and medical care all become much easier when you have a network to share the load. Some people think that once they reach a certain level of preparedness, they're set. But prepping is an ongoing process. Supplies need to be rotated, skills need to be practiced, plans need to be updated. A prepper who hasn't checked their gear in 5 years might find out that their batteries are dead, their food is expired, or their security plans no longer work. Prepping isn't a checklist you complete, it's a mindset and a way of life. Something you build on continuously to stay ready for whatever comes next. Too many people still believe these common prepping myths, and it leaves them vulnerable when disaster strikes. The reality is, prepping is about readiness, not fear. Don't fall for these myths, and don't wait until it's too late to start prepping. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Join the Texan Prepper community by hitting that subscribe button and leave us a comment down below. Keep an eye out every week for another video on emergency preparedness. Stay safe, keep prepping, and I'll see you on the next one.